So one of my first memories from being in the church and experiencing God was at VBS, probably in 2004. I believe I was 9 years old. I just remember being in the pews and singing and worshiping God and feeling His presence there. And at the end of VBS, it was the last day, and they asked if anybody wanted to be saved. So being a young child that I was, of course I wanted to be saved. I didn't want to go to hell. I didn't want to experience bad things in my life. So I agreed to it and got baptized at 9 years old. So when my life took a wrong turn per se, and I decided that I wasn't going to live the correct life for God, I was probably 14. I just made the varsity cheerleading team. I was around a lot of people that weren't Christians, that didn't have the right aspect of life. And I started going out with those friends, and those friends could drive. So we would go to high school parties. I experienced that, I would say, at a very, very young age, and I had no business being there. And it was just a dark place that I didn't realize that I was going down until I actually realized what life I should be living. But it was a very, very dark place that I knew better, and I knew I shouldn't be going down that road. So the point where I had reached my lowest point in life was when I was pregnant. I was probably 7 months pregnant, and I just remember being on the bathroom floor, crying my eyes out, asking God why He made me go through this, and why I had chose all the things I chose before Him. Why I had chose to put Him on the back burner, and I knew that was wrong, and it broke my heart to know that I was putting Him on the back burner, and I should have been putting Him first. I realized that I needed to change my life around. I remember going to Little Life Ministries, and it's a Christian-based place for young women that are pregnant that might not have insurance or might be scared and are not sure what to do with themselves after they become pregnant. And I remember them handing me a Bible, and I remember grabbing that and just started reading it because I needed something, and this life was not working for me. No peace could come into my life without God, and I realized that. So that's when I turned to that Bible and started reading those verses, and that really stuck with me and actually filled me up with peace and love. So my biggest influencers were two wonderful, godly people that I could have never imagined meeting in my entire life. And it's funny how God puts people in your life. I work in a salon, and this girl started out of nowhere. She had her own salon. She sold it. It got tore down, and she started her new journey at my salon where I'm at. And she just started pouring life into me and pouring truth into me. Even when I didn't want to hear it, she was pouring into me, and she would not stop. And she would call to check on me. She would give me Bible verses. And then one of her clients came along. He walked through the salon. He walked all the way to the back and found me. And then he just started saying, you've got to trust in God. You've got to put Him first. And I knew that I had to put Him first, and that's what the biggest thing was in my life that I was realizing, was to put Him first, because He was always on the back burner. And then he went on to say that as long as I put my relationships first before Him, none of them were going to work out. And he knew nothing about my relationship at that point, that it wasn't working out. So it was like he was reading my mail, per se. Back in March, I reached out to Pastor Brian and messaged him on Facebook, just hoping that maybe he could speak some life into me, because even though I had these people speaking to me and trying to help me through my journey and trying to figure out what I really needed to do, I just felt comfort from him almost. And I know you should always find comfort in God, but sometimes we just need a little bit more validation. I began to tell him that I knew I was living my life wrong. I was living with my boyfriend in sin. I hated every second of it, and I just wanted him to pray for me, because the power of prayer has been real for me, and I know that that is real. And I just explained to him that I was tired of living the way I was living, and I didn't know what had to happen for me to break this cycle, but I knew something had to happen because I hated my life. I hated living this way. So I guess the moment that everything started to click and come together on where my life needed to be, I had surgery about 3 weeks after I had my daughter, and it was the scariest moment of my life. It was late at night when I woke up and realized that this possibly could be the last moment of my life. And if that would have been the last moment of my life, I wouldn't have went where I needed to go, which was heaven. So then after that, I pondered in, is this really the life that I want to go and the direction I want to go? And it was a moment where I was in my apartment where I lived with my boyfriend, and he was not there. The baby was asleep. It was a quiet morning, and I just kind of realized, like, I'm ready to do this. I'm ready to take that leap of faith, and I'm going to put my trust in God and just see what happens. What could it hurt? So then I realized that day I needed to leave, so I started to pack, and I completely left. I trusted God, and here I am, and I'm perfectly fine. God has used my daughter Everly in my life to impact me and to bring me back to Him by realizing that Everly wasn't mine in the beginning. Everly has always been God's, and I have been a selfish person before, and it was always about me and what I wanted. So He has changed my desires to be about caring for her, for one, and praying for her. I've never prayed so hard in my life over my daughter, for her life in the future, for her life now. So since I've decided to follow Christ, my life has completely changed drastically. I can't get enough of just reading all that I can to learn more about God, who He is, the God that He is, how much love He has for me, learning about His servants, other people in the Bible, how I can apply those to my life. It's just something that I live for, that God's going to speak to me today, and I'm going to open up the Bible and the words are going to jump off the page because He's speaking to me, and I love this life now, and it's my whole entire life. So Hope Church has impacted my life tremendously, and I can't thank them enough. The people are so welcoming. I don't feel judged here. My testimony was very personal on the choices that I made in life, and they welcomed me. I felt normal. I felt like they weren't judging me on the choices that I did make. I just felt at home. I can't explain the feeling when I come here. I don't feel nervous walking into a big place of people like I normally would. I feel welcomed here, loved. Like I can come to anybody and they will pray any second of the day for me. I can ask any type of question that I need answered, any advice that I need, scripture, any time of day. I know that they're going to be here for me, and I can't thank them enough.